Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Arrhythmia Alliance and AF Association Shared Stories series. As you all know, Shared Stories provide so much support and comfort for patients who are on their journey living with an arrhythmia. Here with me today, I have a great patient by the name of David. Hi, David. How are you today?
Hello, Sharona.
Awesome. Today, David will go through a few questions. I'll ask him a few questions and he'll answer them to the best of his ability. These answers will provide so much support and education for patients who have suffered or who are suffering with AF. All right, David, I'll jump into our first question. And that is, when were you first diagnosed with AF?
My story is a little bit strange. I was diagnosed about 18 hours after I had a massive stroke, which was caused by an AFib. But I never knew I was asymptomatic. As I look back on my life, I can see a few situations that probably, if either I or a physician had put them together and isolated them, maybe someone would have found it. But I had a flight instructor. I was getting 8 EKGs on a fairly regular basis, and nothing suggested that I was going to have an event, as they call it.
Yeah, I think that's really unique, finding it after the fact. And as you've stated, you know, if you look back over your life, you could actually notice like, oh, well, someone could have caught it here or someone could have caught it there. And I'm happy you touch on the fact that you keep up with your health. So you had frequent EKGs, so on and so forth, and it was never discovered. Interesting. How has being diagnosed with AF changed or either affected your life?
The diagnosis of AF really hasn't affected me much. Certainly the stroke did. About the only difference I noticed with having AF and being aware of it is I started taking meds. The first one is an anticoagulant, which I am still on, and probably will be as long as I can swallow. And the second was an antiarrhythmic, and that really didn't do a thing for me. So I was faced with the situation of either going to a fairly extreme routine or trying to ameliorate the arrhythmia chemically, or getting an ablation. And I opted for the ablation, which was again interesting because I was prepped and ready to go. And the physician came in and said, we just got a phone call from the company in Europe that owns this machine or manufactured it, saying that it's malfunctioning. So I had to look like a chicken for the couple of weeks and go back and get prepped again. But that was successful. They made 23 scars in my heart and the arrhythmia was gone. However, it came back, which is not really unusual.
Right.
It's been a couple of years now and I have the arrhythmia back. I, again, don't particularly change anything as a result of it. I'm aware that when I do have the arrhythmia, I have a tendency to become unusually tired, not for a long period of time, but that's sort of if not the predoma, is the effect of the AFib. I'll stop, usually take my blood pressure and monitor my pulse, and in 15 or 20 minutes it's gone.
So have there been any like significant lifestyle changes that you've made following your diagnosis?
Again, it's not so much following my diagnosis. I've changed. I can't play golf because I can't use my right hand. I can't play tennis because I can't use my right hand. I can still swim and I can still lift weights. I still love to kayak, except because I'm I'm not really bilateral. I have a tendency to circle too much. So I've gotten away from kayaking, but I still ride my bike.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Could you go into a little detail as to why you are not able to really use your right arm?
That's a function of the stroke. I had a left brain stroke, which left me essentially not able to use. I can use my right hand if I can see what I'm doing, but I can't feel anything. If I put my hands in my pockets, I don't know if I have nothing, a cell phone, my keys, I can't feel it. But if I can look at something, I can use my hand as if I always did. I just can't feel. My right leg was never really affected, other than for a few minutes.
Gotcha. All right.
But given the wonders of neuroplasticity, I've gotten back the use of my right hand, and I still am even consider myself right-handed. I've learned to write again, and I've pretty much gotten back my ability to speak. And they told me in the rehab, with your situation, looking at your CAT scan, we're not sure you're ever going to talk again.
So I think it's important for the viewers to know that following your stroke, you found the difficulty with speaking. And as someone who has kind of been able to build a relationship with you over the past couple years and see how great you are as a public speaker, I think it shows growth and just perseverance following the stroke. David, as our last and final question, could you tell me what advice would you give to a newly diagnosed AFib patient?
Live your life. You know, there's 4 elements to my way of thinking to life. One is physical. Keep fit, stay in shape, enjoy life. Second is keep yourself mentally sharp, particularly now in the COVID situation. I don't have the kind of interactions with people that I used to have, so I have rejoined Toastmasters. That causes me to have a social setting, if you will. It gives me, because I am a distinguished Toastmaster and worked as a publisher and speaker for a while and university professor, I can help younger people learn to speak and write and be persuasive and help them through the stumbles of their mid-career. I also believe very strongly in spirituality, not necessarily in the concept of a religion, but we all have a spirit and we have to engage that. And I think the best way that I can do that, or anybody really, is to try to be of service and help to other people.
Awesome. A huge thank you to you today, David. I know all of your answers. Your story is so unique, which is why I really wanted you to share it. Having your diagnosis, discovering your diagnosis following a stroke, and how much you have persevered is definitely going to provide some patients a little bit more oomph, if we would say, just to kind of continue pushing on. Everything you've stated today is going to support someone else, and we are beyond thankful for your continuous support for the charity. Thank you, David.
Well, thank you. And if I can leave one message, don't think of what you can't do, think of what you can do.
Right. There we go. What an awesome way to end this. Have a good one, David.
Thank you. Bye-bye.